So today we are going to do some electrical work. I'm going to go ahead and connect a switch to a light, and then we're going to connect a GFI, in this case, since it's going to be a garage installation, to the circuit. And I'll show you how to wire it. We're going to use a 2-wire, we're going to use a 3-wire, and we're going to do some combining of wires, and we're going to whip out a couple wires. So this will be a nice learning exercise. And there's many books on this. This one right here happens to be written by a gentleman named Greg Fletcher, which is a nice book that they use in schools to teach electrical residential electricity. So I suggest to get one. There's many others on the market, but this is a good one that the schools seem to use. Continuing forward with our electrical project, I've gone ahead and pulled a couple of pieces of wire just to show you. This is what we call a 14-2, a 14 gauge wire. There's 2 wires in it. We have a black and a white, and we have the ground. The ground and the white will go back to the fuse box, and the black will go right into the breaker itself if we were to go back that far to the service entrance. I just wanted to share that with you. And then we also have in this project we're going to be using what we call a 14-3 wire. Not rocket science really. We have the ground, we have the white, we have what we'll call the traveler in this case, and we have the black wire. What we're using this wire for, this 14-3 wire, is what we'll call it. And by the way, somewhere on this vinyl coat casing here, you'll see it'll give us all the information that the NEC wants us to have, the gauge of the wire, 14-2, so on and so forth. And what we're going to do with this is going to be our switch wire in this case. The power is going to be a 2-wire coming into our switch. And then from the switch, we're going to run this as our switch wire. What we're going to do is combine the blacks, combine the grounds, combine the whites, and whip out one white and connect the red to the light. And then we have a couple other items here. We're going to use our volt ohm meter to test our voltage at the area, because it just already happens to be wired. So I already have a wire going to the breaker. I did not do the work myself initially. I would have done it, I guess I will say, much better. However, it is 2 code, and the wire's already run. But basically what I want to show you here, just give you a little how to work a volt ohm meter one-on-one. In this case, you're going to see a couple different areas that you can test for voltage. One's up here, one's down here. This is for our DC voltage. Okay, DC, you'll see a ground and you'll see a ground and then a hot wire, a ground and a red, a black and a red here is how I put it. And that'll go all the way up to 1,000 volts. Up here is one we're concerned with for AC power. I guess they're trying to give us a sine wave there. You can test from 200 volts to 750 volts. In our case, we're going to put it in the 200 volt setting. So I'm just simply going to reach over here, put it into 200 volts. Then I'm going to take my wand right here. They give you the black and the red. And you're just going to simply insert them into or touch the wires that you want to test to verify that there is current on it or there is not any current going through it or voltage going through it. There's also an item called a tick tester, which I can't happen to find it. It's much simpler. It just simply works with a couple of, I think, 3 AA batteries or a couple AAA batteries. And it literally, it's almost like a pencil. You just put it right near the input of the plug or what have you you're trying to test for, and it'll actually make a noise and turn an LED bulb goes out to tell you if it's electrified or not. I can't happen to find mine. Somebody scarfed it, but I just wanted to show this to you. And if you have the type I have, volt ohm meter, you're going to want to just simply go ahead and turn that off. Now, we also are going to want to have a knife. In this case, mine happens to be I need to replace it. So I'll go ahead and I'll just unscrew this and I'll put a knife in there. We're going to want to have a Phillips head screwdriver handy. I like these ones here. I got it from one of the box stores. They're color coded. I always know the green is a Phillips head. You can get a whole package of them. They're also rubberized, which I like. Here is the switch we are going to use. Switch is very simple. Black in, white in, turns on and off. Very simple stuff. And your ground always goes here. We also have, since we're going to be putting this in a garage, we're going to be using a GFI. Technically, it's a ground fault circuit interrupter, but we just call it a GFI. Little different. This is made for wet areas. They're mandated to be in garages now. This is nice as well. It provides protection in the wet area. And like it says here, I always a little pointer when you're working with GFIs. The way I always remember it, the word line, L-I-N-E, has in it. So that tells you that it's in from the breaker. That's the way I've always remembered it. It even tells you right here, it's from the breaker. Okay, so you got your hot and you got your white. They even lay it out for you. This one, I don't particularly agree with this, with the electrical codes. However, they seem to think it's okay. With this, unlike other switches, where you actually put hooks into your wire, and then you hook it around here, and you tighten this up, and you put your wire on there. These, they actually want you to go ahead and strip the wire a bit, and you literally tack it in to the hole, and then you tighten this fastener up, or in this, since my screwdriver's right here, we tighten this fastener up, so on and so forth. I don't particularly like this, but they seem to think it's safer, and that's how we're going to do it. This up here, they even go ahead and tell you, attention, the load terminals under this label are for feeding additional receptacles. So you don't want to put basically you don't want to put where your line's supposed to go in your load. You don't want to put your load where your line is, okay? And they're look at that. They even give you a strip gauge right here to tell you how far your wiring has to be. So there you go. These are more expensive, but it's worth it. And I believe you can put up to 3 in a line for your garage. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an electrical code genius. I know the basics, and that's what we're doing here. We're also going to need a pair of handy-dandy electrical wire cutters. These are pretty ratted out. I've done a lot of work with them, but they're still comfortable. They got the spring action on it. You're basically just always using the 14 gauge wire or the 12 gauge wire, and this is nice too. I use it to make my hooks. I twist it to make my hooks. I prefer to go with the crimps. They're not cheap, but they'll last you a long time as long as you keep your eyes on them. And it's good for combining wires, in particular your ground wires. You'll also see that we have a special cover for the GFI. This comes right with it from the manufacturer, and it's self-explanatory right there. This is going to be, this is something you would use for a different plug. I just wanted to show it to you to see that there is certainly a difference. So when you're doing a job, make sure that yours is in the box, or you won't be able to finish your job up so it looks all nice, neat, and tidy at the very end. And one of the other things, folks, safety. You know, a lot of guys, a lot of ladies, what have you, they don't want to use safety equipment. They don't want to use PPE. Well, I can tell you myself, when I was a kid and I was a roofer, a man fell 4 feet off a loading dock and he died instantly, just the way he hit his head. Safety is very concerned to everybody. None of us want to take it lightly. And particularly our eyesight. I've talked to electricians who have been in the business for 30 years. that will tell you there's always some weird thing that happens every now and then with an arc fault or something, even though it doesn't make any sense at all. And they've tried every, they've done every a bit of precautionary measures they could, had PPE. This is just something simple we're going to do today, along with wearing rubber-soled shoes and using our noggin here. These are nice. They're somewhat adjustable in and out. I don't go anywhere without them. They're always in my my box. The drill. I really like these rigid drills. I have to say I've had all different name brands over the years. This 18-volt Hyper has been indestructible to me. It's been dropped, kicked, poked, slapped, and punched. You can probably tell by looking at it. But I don't have any problem with buying a rigid drill. Buy any type you feel comfortable with. That being said, I really like it. It's got the rubberized grip on it. And as you can tell, it's chugging right along. We got a light on it as well down there. So there you go. That's that. I keep 2 drills. One of them is going to be just to drill if I need to drill any holes, and I just keep my drill bit right in it. This is a little 12-volt Ryobi. I've had it for a long time. Works quite well. And you're also going to want to have a tape measure. In this case, we're going to put up a 2x4 to run our wiring down onto the wall. Here's something very simple and basic I'd just like to go over with you. Our twists, we'll call them. I forget the specific name right now. But basically, this is good if you're putting 2 wires, 2 14-gauge wires into one. You want to combine 2 14-gauge wires. You can use this. I think you're actually allowed to put up to 4. I don't like to do that, though. If I'm going to go more than 2 and maybe 4, I definitely go with my red right here. It makes your life easier, and I think that it just grips it better. And last but not least, here's what I'm going to call the greenie. If you're not going to use the crimp, you can go ahead, you put a greenie on there, and inspectors like to see the gold coming up through here. And also, it's nice because then you can just use it to actually use the ground wire to connect to a ground. So that's really it for equipment we're going to be using here today. I just wanted to go over some of these items with you, and now we're going to head on outside and we're going to take a look at what we got here. So I've decided to place my box, my new work box, over here. This particular one had the option of using the nailer if I were to put it in this way, or with this one you have the screws, which is nice. I prefer that method. So I'm going to sink 2 screws right in there, 1 and 2, and I'm going to measure it up. Everything else in the house is 45.5 from the floor, so that's where I'm going to measure to set this box, and we're going to screw it in. And we're going to run our wire up here. It's hard for you to see it, I know, but we're going to run it right up on that board there and run it all the way back to where the power comes in. So what we've decided to go with here is 2 lights. One there, and then one right there. They're about an arm span apart. One's over this tool area here, so it'll be easier illuminated. And the other goes down to a switch. Right down there. So that you know when I'm done. This is the power. This is a 14 2-wire from the panel, from the service entrance. Comes up and it goes to the service entrance. Then this wire is my switch wire. This is just going to go down and go into the switch, and then I'm going to run another wire from light to light. So now we'll just take a closer look at the actual wiring These are all 14-2 wires. And as you can see here, I've gone ahead and labeled them. This is the switch wire, so this one's going up to the light. Now we also have the main power wire. I always just write the main power wire as power. I know a lot of people are going to say, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as main power. Main power to me is what's coming from the breaker, particularly if we're talking about GFIs. And then this is power out. This is going to be heading out from what I consider the main power distribution panel, we'll call this, which is really just a switch box. From here, it's going to go to the outside. We've wired it up here, come down, and we're going to go ahead and pop it out and put an outlet right there. It's a wet outlet, and I'll show you that in a few moments. So now we're going to go ahead and spend a little time taking a look at cutting the wires. And just real quick on the placement, I always run my power wires the first one in. And I always run a power out, goes through the bottom. I don't know why. I just seem to keep it more straight that way. So if I'm looking at a box and I see first one in, oh, I know it's power. That's where I always put it. And I know that the power out going to the next box always coming out the bottom. So you want to start with a nice sharp knife. And you always want to have a plan on what you're doing here first. So what we're installing, we're going to install a GFI and a switch. Now the switch is going to need a black wire and a white wire and a ground. And the GFI is going to need a white wire and a black wire and a ground. And then the power out, okay, is going to go on the load side of the GFI. So let's just take a look at what we got coming in here. We have a white wire and a black wire and a ground coming in for our power. Then we have for our switch, we have a white wire, a black wire, and a ground. So the switch, we have to combine the copper wires into one for a switch. And we also have to whip out a ground for the GFI. And we also have to whip out a power for the GFI, and we have to whip out a white for the GFI. So let's take a look and see, watch how I do this. Now, I believe the NEC code will tell you that you want to strip your wires within a 1/4 inch of the inside of this box to get your sheathing off. Now, they make all kinds of fancy dancy cutters you can get from some very reputable companies. But see what I just did? I just cut it off. It was that simple. You just simply make a seam with your nice sharp knife, by the way. This is freshly sharp. This is a brand new Stanley blade I just put in here. You always want to start a job fresh. You just put a slice in there like I did it. You go ahead, you pull your wires out, and you just cut inside at a 90-degree angle on the wire. Then you go ahead, and I go ahead and I take all of this gray off. If you want, you could just reach right back in there and go ahead and do so. So now, once again, I know this is my power. So I go ahead on my power wire. I'm going to go ahead and just wrap those up back because I know those are my power. Now here's my switch. You can do the same thing, and you'll notice where I put the switch wire too. I put it in. I like putting it in at the top, usually second one in. Then I know that's my switch wire. Everybody's different. I don't know if there's really a code on the placement on that, but here in my shed works fine. And so let me just go ahead and cut this sheathing off. I've done this a few times, folks. Be careful whenever you're using a knife. Be cognizant of where you're at all times. One slip, you could go ahead and cut yourself very badly. I've seen that on a job site before with a rookie, we'll call it, that cut something in a vein in his arm and had to be rushed to the hospital. So it's very serious stuff, and I don't take it lightly. Okay, now I know this one's my switch wire. What I do with my switch wire is I always curl them. I don't know why. That's my little thing I do. I curl that. Now I know when all these wires are flopping around here, that's my switch wire. And also I got my placement to back up on. Oh, second one in, that's my switch wire. First one in, that's my power. Now we're going to take a look at our power out here. Same thing. Make sure we're about 1/4 of an inch in. Cut our sheathing off. Voila. Take our paper off. Great. Do that. Now this one, once again, this is the power. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and I'll flip that down. I know it's the power down because it's coming out the bottom. All right, so first thing I like to do is my grounds. Okay, so this is my power out. I'm not going to worry. This is its own entity here. Okay, except for the ground. I'm going to take that ground. I'm going to take this ground. Going to whip out one ground for here. And, oh, we're perfect. Excellent. Okay, yeah. We just need 2 grounds. We want to combine these. So, let's do a little combining here. I just go ahead, I take it, and I twist them as far back in the back of the box as I can. I've never been shown any differently. I've never had any inspector in any job I've been on ever say it wasn't done right. So I've just always been doing that. Now, I also I like using the copper crimps. Sorry about that. I didn't have them handy. I had to walk back inside. This is the box right here. Very handy. They're not cheap, but they're good. Make your life easy. Be careful with them because they will fall all over the place in the box if you're not careful. And we're going to go ahead and crimp these together. I like getting all the way back in there. Just give it one more. I give it a kiss. You got to kind of get it on the side with this. Okay. It's kind of hard. I can't really show you because I'm one-handed here, but you want to just give that a kiss. Make sure that's on nice. Okay. And, oops, we forgot one. Sorry about that, guys. This is a good thing to do if you don't do it right. I'll show you. You just got to kind of push it the other way. They'll slide right off. You're better off doing the job the correct way the first time, but unfortunately this time I kind of messed up this crimp. My bad, I haven't done electrical work in a while. Looks like my tools haven't been used in a while. Bear with me here. Gotta kind of shake it off. Here it comes. Oh, my handle's coming off of here. Good thing about having Husky tools, you got them for life, and it's a Husky. So let me get one more out here. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. All right. We'll just leave the whip where we had it out back there. I've got to add this one to it. No harm done, no harm to foul. Alright. Same thing, we're going to slide it on here. Slide it right up in there. Okay. I have to turn it a couple times with my hands here. There. And I go ahead and I tuck my grounds in the back. And I know I'm going to need two, so I'm going to cut my shortest. I got my two. So now I'll go ahead and I'll put one here. And I'll put another here. And notice how we're cutting them nice and long. So now get my handy dandy wire cutter out here. You want about a palm's length. Alright. So I go like this. And I give a whole thumb. And a little bit more even. Alright, so now what do we need to do here? We need to whip out a white. We need to whip out two whites, and we need to whip out two blacks. So, I'm going to go ahead, about that much. Same thing, about that much. Now is it starting to make sense about why we kind of sort of want to know where our wires are at in the box, so we can just take a quick check. As you can tell, it can be easy to get all the wires mixed up. Notice I'm not concerned about these right now. So now I'm going to take one of my old wires. Fold it in half like this. Give it a cut. I always like to chop off those little ends. I'm going to go ahead sorry guys, once again, these strippers are not real good. I've used them a million times, and that's what happens, guys, when you buy the cheapies. Jesus. There we go. So, I like using reds when you're whipping this many out. I think the code actually will let you put 4 in to a yellow, but I don't like going there. So, I'm going to go ahead here and combine these. Little trick to that, get them all kind of lined up. Get your red on straight and just manhandle it. Don't be afraid of it. You don't need one of them fancy winders. You don't need any of them things that you see on a drill bit. Just manhandle it. You got your 2 whites. Give it a quick tug. You don't need, if you use the right connectors, you don't need to worry about putting tape on there. So I'll go ahead and I'll tuck that in there. Okay. I leave some extra in case I want to go back and do some work later. And now I got this one over here. There's my whites. Okay. So now there's my blacks. So unfortunately, oh, here we go. Same thing. Boom. Boom. Strip them nice. Now I want to do the same thing here. I'm going to combine the powers. So I'll take the 4 pieces. Use a red. Here's my little, the peanut gallery came in here. No, I'm not. Now I'm going to combine these reds, or these blacks. Same thing. Tighten them up nice. Leave yourself some extra. I like to tuck them in the back. Don't be afraid. Get them all as far back in there as you can. Use your hands of steel. Alright. There's those. There's that. Now you'll notice I haven't. These are the power going down. I want to make sure Okay, but I didn't strip those because I want those to be the line out. So now we're going to go ahead here. And we're going to put our switch in first. Okay. So, little trick you got on your switch here. Maybe, I don't know if anybody's ever shown this to you before, but you have this hole here on your wire cutter, and you can give yourself a nice little hook there. Haven't made hooks in a while. Used to be a champ at it, but you want your hook to be nice, like that. Go ahead and make your other hook. Usually if you start up towards the top, you'll get a better hook. Top of the wire. Go ahead and I'll do these since I'm in that mode. Oh, I'm sorry, don't want to do that because this is actually for the this is going to be for the GFI. And those, you got to strip them a little bit longer. They're going to go on a different way. Okay, so now go ahead and we want, there's our power. Now you always want to make it so the direction that you're turning is pulling the wire taut. Okay, so I'm turning it clockwise, so we're pulling the wire in from here. In other words, basically you just want the wire hooked on the bottom, not on the top. You watch this a couple times, you'll see what I'm talking about. Here's your white wire. Same thing. Here's our ground. So this one, you're going to want to put on top just because of the way it turns. Sometimes I'll give it one of those. Now, with the greens, you always got to be careful how it, if you're using power tools, it's fine, but you'll tend to over torque these greenies. I call them greenies. So I like doing my switches by hand. All right, give it a quick once over, and go ahead, I'll pop it in. Now this, quite frankly, is a good time to use your power drill. I have one. It's not right here. Oops. Yeah, okay, we're okay. Okay. So, we'll just leave that kind of setting in there for now. Now, once again, Now, these aren't going to connect like the other ones did. And I'll show you, it'll be very apparent in a moment when you see what we got going here. This is something I don't agree with the NEC code, but so it's okay. You go ahead, you'll see here, this is your GFI. This is brand new out of a box. Okay. Once again, like I showed you earlier, you see this word line. That means in. So it's coming in from your power. Okay, it's from the breaker. Alright. You got a black and a white. This goes out. So my out is the one that I was concerned with. It's on the bottom. That's why I wanted to be so careful. Alright, so the out, and it even gives you a sticker here. That's your out. Okay? Load, out, line, in from the breaker, out to your next one. So now you're just going to go white to white. You don't want it that long. So you want to just kind of give it a nubby. I always like to make it longer so you can cut it off. Now you'll see it fits right in there. So these are best when you do them upside down like this. That's what I find. I might be wrong. Maybe I do things in an odd fashion. But it just seems like the plate that's coming down on this comes down with gravity better than if you're just doing it sideways. You want to get that in there nice. Okay, same thing over here. Here's your hot. Oops, it's too much. It usually is. I'm going to cut it down a hair. Same thing. If you do it upside down, they tend to go in better. I don't know. But there we go. Hand tightening this. They're both in there nice. I prefer the traditional type with the screws, but it's not what we're doing here now. And I'm just going to know that this isn't right. It's too long. So I like to, I don't want any exposed. So, again. There we go. And your white, it's just a hair long. And put our white in. You don't want any wire exposed. This one, okay, I'm going to show you. We're just going to do it the other way. Let's see. Okay, well, that seemed to draw it up pretty good too, I guess. All right, make sure they're all tight. Now, we got a ground wire here. What do we do with it? It's going to go right here. So, the wire's too long. I'm going to cut it a hair. I'm going to use my loop maker. Make a nice little loop. Now, I'm going to see. This looks like that's screwing. Yep, clockwise, so. Oh, I'm sorry. Same thing on these. I forgot about that. Actually, when you make a bend, you never want to reuse that bend. This, I forgot. These go in like this. is going on the top. So you got to loosen this. Alright. You got to kind of slide it in underneath. It's like a bracket. Okay? Now, this one's easy to screw it up, so make sure you get it in right. Make sure it's tucked all the way in the back so it can't go any further. Okay? There. So. Give it a tug. Might not ever see these again. Just always make one more check. Okay? Now, once again, don't be afraid of the wires. Push them right in there. They won't bite. They won't come out. I suggest to do this part once again with a power tool. Mine is not handy right now, but let's see, where is she? Oh, here it is. Just kind of grab the video here. You want to get these nice and pretty. And of course, we're not using live electricity here. Nothing's live. Just want to let you know that nothing is live here, okay? And that, folks, is how you put in a GFI right next to a single pull switch. This is a special outdoor, it's a watertight box. It's made of metal. The whole idea, what I'm going to do at least, is I'm going to be mounting it to the exterior wall right here. And I need to drill a hole through the wall that's going to accommodate this right here. If I get it out of the bag, here we go. Alright. As you can tell, it's got a little rubber gasket. I don't know if you can tell. I'm doing this one-handed. I got an iPad in my hand, but there's a little rubber gasket in there. This screws off. Okay, and the whole idea is that the 14-2 wire goes through there, and then it's watertight, and basically this just screws in the back of the box here. Does one of these, which is where my entrance is going to be to this, and then the other, they give you these other components to cap it off. So in watertight, and I guess you're supposed to put a little dab of like silicone in there, and then here's the water proof cap, and as you can tell, wet location. Alright, so the guy at the store said this will be what's working good, and I'm going to proceed to do that. Once again, we're going to be drilling a hole in here about 1 inch, about a 1 inch diameter hole, so I can get all this stuff in there. This is not even 5/8 inch thick, but the wire will go in there, and I'll be able to tighten it up, and it'll look nice. So we'll see what we got going on there. This could be useful to everyone as well. The code requires receptacles no less than 15 inches off the ground and no more than 48. Well, and the reason being, of course, you know, there are folks that need wheelchair accessibility, and just it seems 48 inches seems to be a pretty good height. This in our town, I just want to show you, this S-wing hammer happens to be the perfect height. So every job I've ever done in this community I'm in, we're always just able to do that, and it always passes. So that's how I've used that S-wing. I can't remember what top of my head how high it is, but once again in our community, it functions and it always passes when I'm setting up boxes. This is what we have left after I cut the hole out. I tried to drill a nice fancy hole, but it wasn't big enough. I didn't have a big enough bit to get the hole I needed. And also, in order to have access to screw this in over here, I needed, as you can tell, something a bit wider. Now the hole, what we're trying to do here, and besides, I'm gonna silicone this up nice so it looks nice and pretty, and then this old insulation is just gonna go over it anyways. This is a shed, so we're not, really going to town on this. But little pointer. Want to make sure. I like to make sure it's going in horizontally. So I like to set my gasket like that. Okay, and also you're going to want to have your screw. You're going to want to have that on first, because the whole idea is to feed your wire through there. Okay, and then you want to go ahead and tighten this. So don't put your wire in without your screw on there for your nut there. Now you'll see this is the outdoor plug I'm going to install. This is in series with a GFCI, or as we said earlier, ground fault interrupter, ground fault circuit interrupter. This one is denoted. A good friend of mine who's an electrician said you use these. He said he actually took them apart once and doesn't see any difference, but it's got a WR nomenclature on it there. And they are a bit different on the exterior regarding how the screws go in. So that's that. And I just figured we'd go over one more time. Doing a box here. Just bear with me for a minute. So, once again, I like to leave about a 1/4 inch inside there. And you give it a nice, always paying attention. You got a nice sharp knife. Be cognizant of what you're doing. You're sheathing. It comes right off. See, nice sharp knife makes your life easy. This is an easy box to make up. You got 3 wires. Once again, I like to leave myself a nice handful. I'll cut them here like that. And we'll go ahead, give myself enough to make a loop. I'm sorry, I'm not as slick as I used to be. I haven't done electrical work in a while here, so I'm a little slower than most. There's no need to be concerned with doing one last or first or what have you. In this situation, again, I'm going to go back with our hooks. I think that's probably a little too long there. I think that's a little too long, so I'm just going to snip it a hair. Remember, this is detail work, folks. I know a lot of you guys probably would have flipped right through this and you'd be done a lot quicker than I am, but oh, and sure enough, I had enough, and now I don't have enough. Sorry if we get anybody a headache here. There, that should be enough right there. Trial and error. I'm not perfect. This one should look about right. And we'll go ahead and we'll do our ground. The reason I like to leave a little bit, because if you've ever had to go out on a job and do a repair, and they leave you like a little nub of wire
to fix it. Nothing makes your life harder, so I always like to leave a lot. I don't know if there's a code on that or not. I also like to leave my other screws tightened up compared to the ones I'm using. Okay, so now we got our hooks. Put our grounds down. It's turning clockwise. I'm going to put my white on top. Remember, white goes to silver, black goes to gold. Oops. There we go. Make sure our connection is nice and tight. It is. I'll move over to our blacks here. Just bear with me here. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta have that screw a little bit more wide open than normal. Oops, I don't want my hook there. Oop. I want it going the other way. I'm not sure if code requires this, but this is just how I like to do it. I feel as if my hooks are in better. It's the last time I'm probably going to ever look at this, as long as I live. And I just want to make sure that I got it just right. Oop. And just going to do our ground. Now you're doing the ground, make sure that this metal, it's hard to see, make sure this metal clip doesn't bend in on you, and it will if you're using a power tool and you're not careful. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead, screw this one in. Sometimes you want to just go ahead and just use Oh, had that one in the wrong hole. That's why it wouldn't go in very easily. There we go. And I just want to get this in place. Just to see if this will work for us. So there you go. There's the plug. And I'm going to try completing the task now and do the rest of the lights. Something else I wanted to show you. This is what we call porcelains. It's made out of plastic, but it's just, I guess the old days they're made out of porcelain. So if you're having a job and somebody says, hey, put the porcelains in there, they're going to be downstairs. This one happens to be a pull cord in this situation. Very simple. Gold is for your blacks. Silvers are for your whites. Notice there's no place for the ground there. Just wrap them up together or put a cap on it. And it's that simple. I find putting these just in with sheetrock screws works the best. So that's that. Wanted to show this to you.
Now we're going to put a light in. This is one of these plastic round receptacles for a light fixture. So there's you can screw your sheetrock screws. That's what I was telling you about earlier. That's what I've always used. Got a handful of wire here. It's got a lip on it, so it gives you that 5/8 of an inch or whatever it is for the sheetrockers to come in. And same thing, I like to leave a 1/4 inch of sheathing inside. I haven't checked. I don't know if that's code or what have you. I would think the more would be better. This is a pretty simple, dimple little one. I couldn't really set up the camera to show you the other one. And once again, I want to, I haven't really said anybody, but this whole circuit has been dead. It's not even plugged in. So it's not even live in the breaker box. I'm gonna have a friend of mine. I've done the service entrance to this, I ran the wire, but a friend of mine is gonna do, who's a licensed New York State electrician. He's gonna go ahead and he's gonna do the breaker, which I'm told is supposed to be a 20 ampere. So I've made my hooks. Same thing goes here. Here's the porcelain. You're going to want to use one gold. Make sure your other one's tightened down. One silver. Make sure the other one's tightened down. Self-explanatory. White goes to white. Sometimes, for whatever reason, it can be kind of tricky to get those in there. It's just like they don't quite give you enough space. But I've worked with guys that can get them in no time flat. I guess I'm just kind of a slow poke. But I had somebody tell me once that for a company I used to work for, that they're always very happy with my work, because they never got any callbacks when I was working for them. So how about that one? Hard to believe, right? But true. Worked for a couple years for them. Now in this case, I don't want the ground poking out, so I'm going to use a yellow just to cap it. Now, what we're going to do, we're have my buddy come over, do the service entrance. I'm not going to show that to you because I won't be here when he does it. But we'll go ahead and we're going to leave these just like this. I got everything buttoned up just to test to see if everything works. So we'll see if all of our stuff we've done here the past few hours is going to provide light and an outdoor fixture. A friend of mine told me I had wired this incorrectly, and I wanted to just share this with you before we powered the circuit. You have to go back to the beginning of the video and how I showed you how to wire it. It was almost right, but just a bit wrong. The power wire that comes in, okay, gets combined. You whip out two blacks. One goes to your switch, one goes to your line portion of your GFI. The whites all get, you got to whip out
just the one white that goes to the GFI, and you combine the others, and you combine your powers here, and your light switch has to be separate. I don't know what I was thinking there. I combined the light switch with the power so it was popping the breaker. But I'm going to get this all tucked together and inside after I've made those changes. So once again, the switch wire I had hooked into the power. That's a no-no. Switch wire has to be its own entity. And I combined the whites, whipped one out that went to the GFI, and I have whipped out two powers. One goes to the GFI, one goes to the light switch. And we're going to see how this works. I'm going to put this all back together. The moment we've all been waiting for, we are tied to the grid. We are on a 20 amp breaker. Moment of truth here. I'm going to go ahead and flip this switch. And yes, there's the light I showed you how to put in. It functions. This one did not turn on because it's on a pull cord. In a perfect world, it's going to turn on with a pull cord. Sure enough. And the GFI, I already plugged something in there. That one's working. And I already plugged something in here, and this one is working as well. Everything's all good. Thanks for watching. Email me with any questions. I wanted to take a moment and just show you the finished product. I realized after I'd finished the video, I hadn't shown you the finished product, but there we go. Nice and snug. This is a gasket that it comes with here. It's on there real nice. I'm probably going to put like a little bead of caulk around here. And just wanted to show you the lights. Well, here, I'll turn it off. Maybe you can see it better. But I went ahead and finished it up. Like I said, I like to use the sheet rock screws in here to screw it in, to fasten it. And did the same thing over here with the sheet rock screws. And wow, sorry, I didn't mean to blind you there, but I'm just so happy everything works. This is just great. Thank you.